welcome and thank you for joining. My emphasis in meditation is simply to try to prove to people that you can meditate. Many people think they can't. They think you need perfect concentration. They need to be able to sit still or something like that. And I like to try to persuade people that it is far simpler than most people think. And one of the ways I like to start that is just invite you to take a deep breath in and let it all the way out. And if you can do that, you can meditate. I promise you, it is that simple. That is not quite a meditation, but the only thing you need to do to turn that into a meditation is simply to pay attention to that breath. So if I can, once again, ask you to take a deep breath, but this time, really pay attention to the sensation. Just as it enters your mouth or your nose, just look with curiosity. Just look closely at that sensation. That's all you have to do. So once again, nice deep breath in, but this time paying attention. And this time let it out, paying attention. And there you go. That is meditation. It is that simple. Now, the difficulty is not with meditation. The difficulty is to do with this thing in our psyche called our attention. So for a breath, if I ask you to pay attention to a breath, you can probably do that. You can probably pay attention to a breath. If in the traditional sort of meditation instruction, I ask you to hold your attention on your breathing indefinitely, that is extremely difficult. So I really like to try and emphasize that try not to confuse that difficulty with meditation. That is difficult for every human being on the planet. Monks who have been doing this for hours every day for years, they find that difficult. So that is not what we are trying to do in meditation. We're not trying to somehow have this perfect concentration and hold our mind in perfect concentration. What we're doing is we're playing with our attention a little bit, and we're starting to learn more about our attention. So let me dissuade you from needing perfect attention, but we are going to play with our attention. So in the classic meditation instruction, we sit down, we try and get relaxed but comfortable, but a little holding our attention, so a little bit alert, and placing our attention ever so gently on the breathing. So right now, for example, just invite you to notice the sensation of your breathing as you breathe. And I wonder whether or not, as you do that, you can also notice that your mind is racing. Your mind is thinking whatever it is thinking. I'm not psychic, I can't tell you, but I'm sure your mind is thinking, am I doing this right? Is it really this simple? There must be more to it than this. I thought this was supposed to be relaxing. It doesn't feel very relaxing. Or you might immediately be thinking about something else that you need to be doing, some problem you need to be solving, something that somebody said to you earlier today, something you need to be doing tomorrow. This is what the mind does. In meditation, we place our attention into the present moment. We start by placing it, let's say, and then we notice we attention on the breathing, and then we see what happens. And if, as happens to all of us, you get distracted and suddenly you're thinking about something else, that's fine. The key is to notice when that happens. So when you notice that you've got distracted, that moment is gold. In that moment, you're becoming more aware of where what you're paying attention to, where your mind has gone. This thought that you didn't ask for, it just popped into your mind and it took your attention away. You, me, Dalai Lama, everybody. That's what happens. But in meditation, we're starting to become more aware of that. So I'm going to try and guide you into a short, about 3-ish minute meditation. And I don't want you to fight to hold your attention. I'm going to ask you to keep coming back to your breath. But what I really want you to do is to notice your own mind. If we place your attention on the breathing and then see if you can see your own mind, see what it's thinking, see where it goes. And so really we're doing a few things here. We're placing our attention on the breathing, really becoming sensitive to the sensations of breath, the way your body is moving as you breathe. And I'll guide you through lots of different things to look at with your breath. And then at some point, some thought is going to pop into your mind. It's going to take your attention away from the breath. That's fine. But there's a really, really important moment when you notice that your attention's gone. That is what we start to get better and better at in meditation, is noticing on any given moment, where is your attention? And then something that's a little bit tricky, but we just get better at it over time, is you try and let that go. Now, sometimes if you've got a really, sexy thought or important thought or a really enticing thought, it's quite hard to let it go. You go, no, this is really important. I need to think about this. But in meditation, we try to just let it go and return our attention, and we simply start again. So we're noticing, we're letting go, and we're starting again. That's it. And it doesn't matter how many times you get distracted. It doesn't matter how long you get distracted for. We try and notice where the mind is, let it go, start again. So I'll guide you in. So if I can invite you to take a nice deep breath in and let it all the way out, releasing any tension you might be holding in your body. And once again, take a nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And this time let it out very slowly, releasing any tension in your face, in your shoulders, in your body. And then allow your breathing to return to normal. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and see if you can just let everything go. You don't need to try hard here. You don't need to achieve anything. All I'd like you to do is to let everything go and simply become aware of the sensation of your breathing as you breathe. And often the easiest place to do this is to just look at that sensation the first time you feel it. Just at that moment, you first feel the sensation right on the tip of your nostril or on your lip. And you don't need to do anything, you don't need to analyze anything, you don't need to think about anything. Just see if you can be fully absorbed simply in the sensation of the air. And we're letting everything else go just to be in this moment with this breath. might start to notice how the sensation changes ever so slightly between the beginning of the breath, the middle of the breath, the top of the inhale. And is then very different again on the exhale. You can notice perhaps at the top of the inhale, there's a short pause, and then the inhale becomes an exhale. Maybe look very closely at the pause at the end of the exhale. Wondering at what moment does the exhale stop, and then suddenly there's an impulse. You don't need to think about it, it's automatic. Your body knows it's time to take the next inhale. We're just letting everything fall away, allowing ourselves this luxury of being fully absorbed in this breath. And then you probably notice how your mind is starting to pop thoughts into your consciousness. That's not wrong, doesn't mean you're doing it badly, doesn't mean you're bad at meditation, just means you're human. What we're really trying to do in meditation is see if we can notice that thought. Notice what you're thinking about. And then see if you can just let that go with the next exhale. And go back to the next inhale. Once again, just starting again, becoming fully absorbed in our breathing. And invite you to take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. And then I'll always invite you to transition gently out of a meditation. It can be very tempting to just jump straight back into our thoughts, our worries, our concerns, our phone, our emails, our messages. But as you come out of a meditation, just see if you can pause very gently and transition gently in order to be able to try to carry some of that, perhaps clarity or peace or balance, with you into the next moment. So if there is nothing else I can achieve, I really want to stress you can do this. Anybody can do this. It isn't about having perfect concentration. Nobody has perfect concentration. It is about starting to become more aware of the present moment and placing our attention into that present moment. And breathing just happens to be one of the things. There are many other things going on in this moment. If you choose to, you can pay attention to the sensation of your feet right now, or the sensation of your hands. Those sensations are only happening right now. And this breath that you're having right now only happens once. It only happens now. So these are all ways of putting our attention so that we're looking at this moment right now, instead of being in our heads worrying about the past, worrying about the future, worrying about our problems. And not that those things, they have their place. Sometimes it's very important to learn things from the past or to plan things for the future. But sometimes that gets a little out of control. And so this is a way of interrupting that, and it gives us another option, which is simply placing our attention in this moment. We place our attention in the moment, we get distracted, we notice, which is key, and then we let it go, and then we start again. Now, of course, why would we do this funny exercise? Well, it turns out that by interrupting our talky mind, this mind that's always going non-stop, yours, mine, everybody, it's just on this relentless hamster wheel of thinking, worrying, planning, etc., etc. And this is a way of just interrupting that, and it just slows everything down, calms everything down, and allows us to see the moment, ourselves, a situation with a bit more clarity. That's all. So people for thousands of years have found out that this is just a very simple trick or technique for just helping us get a little bit more balance, just by placing our attention into this moment. That's all. Okay, let me see if there are any questions, and otherwise then I'd like to do a couple of other short meditations if we have time. Again, just to give you some other options. But are there any questions so far? Joe, Teo, Michelle?
Don't have any questions, but I just want to say that was very relaxing. I felt like I was about to fall asleep, and I'm not in the best seat for doing that. So if you hear a loud crash or I disappear quickly,
I
that's
saw
what's
somebody
happened.
straight over, yeah.
But that's great. So yeah, show us some other things.
Thanks very much, Teo.
Oh,
Okay, well, let's try a couple more techniques. So just very small variations on that. There are literally thousands of different meditation techniques. I can't pretend I know all of them, but I just want to give you two options on that breathing meditation that people like as a way of just being able to calm the mind down a little bit. So once again, just invite you to take your seat such that you're comfortable or lying down, comfortable but alert, and take a nice deep breath in and let it all the way out. Once again, take a nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And this time let it out very slowly, releasing any tension in your face, in your shoulders, in your body. And then allow your breathing to return to normal. And once again, just seeing if you can give yourself permission to let everything go from your life. You are in the perfect place at the perfect time, right now. Nothing to worry about, nothing to solve, just for a few minutes. And allow yourself to be fully absorbed in this next breath. And I just invite you to try counting. And what we're going to do is, with the next breath, just count one. So as you breathe in, one. And as you breathe out, one. And with the next breath, breathing in, two. Breathing out, two. 2. Then we go back to 1. Next breath in for 1. Breathing out for 1. Now we'll try going up to 3. So next breath in for 1. Out for 1. And we're still paying attention to the sensation, but counting. Next one in for 2. And out for 2. Next one in for 3. Out for 3. And then back down again. Next one in for 2. Out for 2. In for 1. Out for 1. And we'll leave that there for now, but with the counting, see, it can be quite a fun exercise to see if you can get all the way up to 10. So going up to 3 and then back down again, up to 4 and back down again, up to 5 and back down again. And it's just a way of holding the attention, because you have to sort of concentrate a little bit on where you are, what number you're on, etc., etc. So it just gives you something else to hold on to. So that's meditation with counting. And then I'd like to give you a more simple version that some people prefer. And that is simply to add what's called a note. So we're just going to notice something. And in this case, I just want you to note that you're breathing in on the inhale and that you're breathing out on the exhale. So we're still really paying attention to the sensation, but as you breathe in, just note to yourself very quietly in your mind, breathing in, and then as you exhale, again paying attention, just adding the note, breathing out. It is as simple as that, breathing in and breathing out. Just let you try this for about a minute or so. Paying attention to the breath, just with this tiny little extra note. Breathing in, breathing out. When you notice your mind doing its thing, thinking thoughts, that's normal. To see if you can notice that. Let it go very gently and simply start again with the next breath. Breathing in, breathing out. And I invite you to take a deep breath in and let it all the way out. And once again, very gently connecting yourself back into your room. So, thank you ever so much for giving me this chance to present a taste of meditation. I think on the on the one hand, I think meditation can be extraordinary about sort of interrupting this the flim flam of our mind and just helping us find our center, finding a little bit of balance, stability, clarity in our day. And in the short term, it does a great job of making us feel a bit better. And I will then also make the pitch that if you start to find a way to do this on a relatively regular basis, and I like to say, if you can do it daily-ish, it doesn't really matter if you miss a day or something like that. But as you start to develop a little bit of a habit with it and to add it into your daily routine as much as you can, you'll start to notice that that feeling of calm, that feeling of balance, that feeling of being centered, it starts to become more than just during the meditation. You can start to carry it with you a little bit more. At least that's my experience. And I think most people's experience is that then it starts to just carry more into your day. And it doesn't fix all your problems. Life is still life. For most of us, life is a struggle in some way or another. We have good days, we have bad days. But by having this extra tool of finding a little bit of centeredness, clarity, balance, it just helps us enjoy the good moments a bit more because we're a bit more present, and it can help us deal with the challenges a bit more skillfully. There is lots more to meditation. I'll invite you to, if you're interested, there is the free 8-week course on my website, which will add links to and all that kind of stuff and send everything. But once again, thank you ever so much for your attention.